Alrighty, it's 7 on the dot. It's go time. Lights out on the hour. It is the hour of the time. Lights out for the curfew of the soul and mind. This is Richard Greaser, and you're listening to the PAZNIA Radio Network.
If you listen real closely, you can hear the drums in the distance, calling you to dance like a puppet, to question your existence. Are you ready to die for men you don't believe, walking through hell and fire only to be deceived? Deaths of millions pre-planned. Iraq, Syria, Libya, Somalia, Sudan. Are you ready for the next one? They aren't about to stop. Nobody asked for this scale of death, but the bombs are being dropped. A manufactured crisis to start another war. Finishing off Iran for the encore. I tried to be good and do what I was told, but I never agreed to fund your damn wars. Murdering millions in the name of lies, printing trillions as old glory flies. In the name of democracy, they conquer foreign lands on the wings of eagles. The empire will expand. When you look around, how can you consent? You may resist now, but what can you prevent? The media deception has rotted society's brains, distorted perceptions, trapped by chains. Didn't Al-Qaeda bomb New York? Now they are good guys doing the Lord's work. How can we believe anything we hear? Who are really the terrorists wielding fear? Loading the globe without getting stopped. The CIA won't be topped, causing chaos and destruction, and dollarizing through corruption. I tried to be good and do what I was told, but I never agreed to fund your damn wars. Murdering millions in the name of lies, printing trillions as old glory flies. In the name of democracy, they conquer foreign lands on the wings of eagles. The empire will expand.
Thank God for the government keeping us safe. Can I get an amen? Welcome everybody to PAZNIA Radio Network. Hopefully this is your first time. If you don't know what PAZNIA is, it is one of the most interesting things I've ever encountered before. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm just going to leave the cliffhanger there for you. PAZNIA, Richard Greaser thinks PAZNIA is one of the coolest things in the world. And you should go and check it out. Go to PAZNIA.com/radio. So this is week 2 of this. So I've already had a couple hiccups. I realized I couldn't stream. I'm trying to fix the audio. So we had some audio issues. So I'm streaming from my typewriter directly to Zap.stream. Zap.stream, best way to watch this broadcast. Hopefully, if we fix the audio this week, which we should have fixed the audio this week. But go to Zap.stream and check it out there. We're streaming on Twitter. I screwed up the graphics, so I can't show Rayo, who is organizing this and managing a lot of the stream. Put this together. He's like, let's give Richard Greaser 2 hours twice a month to just ramble about whatever he wants to and play music. So if you hate it, blame him because it was his idea, but I think it's going to be pretty great. But yeah, that's what this is. I just wanted to explain that's what this is because I mistitled the stream on Twitter. It says Satirize the System pregame. Satirize the System already happened. As I'm sure everybody already knows, this is the PAZNIA Radio Network. This is a music show where I talk about music. So that first song, Drums in the Distance, I wrote that in December. And I don't know why I never published it. It just felt appropriate to kind of bring back, now that we're watching the Jews bomb Iran. Trump's getting involved now. Things are getting crazy. I imagine probably a good amount of the people that watch the stream don't pay attention to the news. Oh, let me go over and look at the Twitter numbers. If you're watching on Twitter, you should go watch on Zap.stream. Wow, 101 views on Twitter. It's probably mostly bots. Thank you, bots, for boosting the numbers. Appreciate it. Yeah, shit's hitting the fan this week, and I think it was all really predictable. You know, there's different types of people. You know, and the type of people I enjoy are people like Rhea, who live by principles, and they don't really do things just because it's popular. They don't follow the trends. They live by a set of values, and they're consistent with it. You see, they're consistent with it over a very long time, and even if it creates, you know, makes things more difficult for them, there's a level of consistency. You know, a lot of the world, they don't operate that way because they don't have a set of values which they believe in. Because what these people are is they're automatons that just respond to stimulus. Something happens, it triggers something in their brain, and now they're this, or they believe this, or they believe that. This person said this, so I either disagree with it or agree with it because this other person told me what to think about them and their ideas. They're changing and they're shifting with the stream of culture. Now we all can change and we can all change over time. I think it's a good thing to change. It's a good thing to constantly evolve, but it's different when you're just like, you know, taking your values and throwing them to the window. You used to believe so strongly in something, in this concept of freedom, of liberty. But I'm just going to take that, toss it out the window, because a politician says something attractive that I wanted to hear. We are in the position that we're in right now as a result of that. I think everybody is well aware of how the war machine works, how the fiat money printing machine works. And yet quite a few people, despite knowing this, they sacrifice their values. And part of the reason why I became, so my political pronouns, because people like to ask you your political pronouns. Like it's a hard thing to define because I feel like we're individual. We're going to have a different set of values than the other person, and just being like a plain label of like an anarchist or voluntarist or status cuck. They're just not good labels. You have to define what your political pronouns are specifically, because it's a spectrum of politics. Because what your political pronouns are a reflection of is your value system, your set of values. And so I say I'm a cigarette capitalist. That's my political pronouns. I believe in the liberty of smoking cigarettes unmolested, unbothered, just about everywhere I want to, within reason, including inside of hospitals and airplanes. If people want to bitch about it, they can pull it off in casinos. You just have to ventilate it. It's not that big of a deal. Makes you stronger. For those too weak of character to smoke cigarettes themselves, they get a little bit of secondhand smoke, and it picks them up. It picks society up collectively. My act of smoking is a net benefit. There's only positive externalities come from it, because I take my cigarette and I throw it in a trash can instead of on the ground. That's really the negative externality that comes from cigarettes, is when people throw their butts everywhere. It's not always a problem. They're biodegradable, but at a certain point, it just becomes a nuisance, and you just take your trash and throw it in the trash can. But yeah, you define yourself based on your political pronouns. I think this is a good way to there's different flavors of political pronouns. I'm a cigarette capitalist. I believe in the liberty of smoking. I believe in capitalism. I believe that you have the right to own things and to sell things without a violent criminal organization coming in and molesting you and saying, hey, you have to KYC to buy those cigarettes and pay taxes so that we can go start a war that threatens the very existence of your future. And you need to pay us taxes on those cigarettes so we can tell you where you can and can't smoke. And if you smoke something that we don't like, then we're going to throw you. So you have to fund us to throw you in prison. We steal your labor. I just don't believe in any of that shit. I'm a cigarette capitalist. But there's different, there's a spectrum of people, and it's constantly expanding. We're learning of new political pronouns every single day. If someone mispronouns me, I won't be that like upset unless it's certain, I don't know how to define this. I only get upset like if somebody calls me like a Democrat or Republican or status cock or a Bitcoin pleb or what else? What are some good ways? If somebody mispronouns me in that way, like if somebody called me an anarchist, I would consider that a mispronouncing. I wouldn't consider it a microaggression. I would say I wouldn't even consider it aggressive. I would just say they're wrong, and depending on what the context is that they're describing me that way, I might correct them. Most of the time, I won't, because I just don't find it that offensive to be called an anarchist. It's not offensive to be called somebody that voluntarily. It just believes in this world of voluntary cooperation. I don't find that offensive. I find it offensive, though, if somebody mispronouns me and describes me as somebody that's an advocate for violence, coercive use of violence against other people. Then I'll find it offensive. You mispronoun me like that, and we're going to have a problem. I'm not one of those guys. I'm a tried and true cigarette capitalist. But we're watching this shit in the Middle East. And I've got friends over there that are getting bombed. It's not fun to watch. I wouldn't want to experience that. Fortunately, I've never experienced that in my life. I've never had to hide out in a bomb shelter because somebody's trying to kill me as a direct result of my government's actions. I haven't experienced that yet. I really hope I don't. And I just misspoke. Not my government. The government and the jurisdiction that I live in. I hope I'm never in that situation where I'm getting bombed because something that Donald Trump has done. But I think with these types of individuals, their stated goal is to keep us safe. They want to keep us safe from ourselves. They think or it's not even what they think their responsibility is. I think they know the rules of the games, and the people that consent to it don't understand the rules of the game. There's an asymmetry there where they have an advantage, and part of the reason why is because they put the CIA all over the media to tell people how to think. There's an asymmetry there. People don't realize that all the shit that they're reading that they think is news is made by the CIA. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's being presented to you by people that don't listen to 40 hours of Bitcoin podcasts a week, that go and read newspapers, that go and read or watch CNN or Fox News or whatever the TV MK Ultra bullshit is. It's just all garbage. And we shouldn't stand for any of it. But yeah, I've got some friends over there who are at the mercy of their government and a foreign hostile government. And that sucks. And I don't know anybody in Iran, but there's a lot of people in this situation over there that are in danger of getting bombed that likely had no say in any of it. It's just a really real scenario. These people in this thing called government come and try and fuck with you all the time in order to keep you safe is their justification. We won't let you smoke here to keep you safe for your own safety. And then when you're like, well, I don't need you to keep me safe. You're fucking retard because you don't smoke cigarettes and listen to Bitcoin podcasts. They'll instantly jump to, oh, well, we have to keep the other person safe. Like I already said, I dispelled that myth. Put proper ventilation systems in all these buildings. If you can't filter out cigarette smoke to the point where it's casino level, it's probably not sanitary in the first place because you're breathing all these other I try to never breathe in the germs from somebody that doesn't listen to Bitcoin podcasts because they're super spreaders. They spread stupidity and their germs. I am terrified of them making me stupider. I can't afford that. I'm a journalist. The solution to all this shit is not looking at how other people behave, but it's looking at how you behave and how you think. Because that's what these voluntarist type philosophies are about. Is it's not about controlling other people. It's not about dominating others for political power. If you have any sort of power, if you've attained any sort of success, if you have any sort of, influence in the world, it's not because you coerced your way into it. It's because you voluntarily attain that. That's what these philosophies are about. And they're empowering philosophies. It's empowering to believe in and have a set of values where you the only way that you can earn is honestly through labor. And that you're responsible for taking care of yourself and your family instead of just outsourcing it to everybody else around you. And I'm not saying you have to do a full stack on everything and be fully sovereign. This is going to be a topic this cycle. It's a topic every cycle, where everybody argues about what the term sovereign means. They're like, oh, you can't ever fully be sovereign. I mean, you can. You totally can. It just fucking sucks. I mean, Rayo talks about it all the time on his podcast. He gives examples of people that are fully sovereign. It has trade-offs. It is very difficult. It's not easy. But yeah, using your brain to not be so reliant on the system, and to hang out with people that make you feel good, and not to consume content that just makes you feel bad about yourself. The solution to all this shit is changing yourself, because you can't control the world around you. You can't control people around you. I mean, think about how hard it is for you to change your opinion when somebody's trying to persuade you. And you're going to spend all your time trying to do that for a bunch of other people that probably aren't capable of even understanding the very basic things that you're talking about. They haven't done the groundwork to understand all the context of why it's important to listen 40 hours per week, smoke cigarettes, and read Ayn Rand. You're going to spend all your time trying to convince other people to change their minds. I think you're at a disadvantage when you go out there and you try and persuade people to change their minds, because you're already coming from a place of weakness in a lot of ways. Because if you really had something so valuable and good, you wouldn't have to sell people on it and go out and plead with them. The sales process, if you believe that your shit doesn't stink and you're on the right path, the sales process for getting people to think more similarly to the way you do is by not being a loser. Enjoying your life, doing the things that you want, being a good parent, being a good friend, being a good employee, being a good business owner, whatever it is. Be the fucking shit. That's the sales process. Everybody's out there running around trying to terrify each other to believe a certain way, or else the world we're in. There's so much that we don't have control over. But I think one of the things that we have control over is our own stories, to write an effective narrative that is inspiring to others. This is part of the reason why I like Ayn Rand so much, is while I don't really she wrote really good books with really compelling narratives. And we can do the same with our lives. And the reason why the shit that's going on right now is happening is because people fail to look internally at themselves. Take accountability for the shit. I hope you feel good tonight. With all this shit going on in the world, and I know it's easy to get stressed out. Like, most of the NPCs are stressed out. People that have been plugged into what's going on so there's different types of people, right? There's the NPC that's like checked out, just watching Netflix. They have no idea what's going on. There's the NPC that thinks they're incredibly informed and they're just like constantly watching garbage, consuming garbage information. There is the person that's aware, is constantly plugged in. This person just like has like a very high base level of stress. And, the only reason why I'm like this is all this shit's predictable. Politicians start wars. They're going to steal your shit. They're going to cause problems. It's all predictable. You don't really need to watch the news to see all that shit. Maybe the weather. Tune in for the hot weather chicks. I don't know. But weather's always interesting. But, the politicians are going to do stupid shit. People are going to do stupid shit. The only reason why I pay attention to any of this shit is because I'm a journalist. And it's my job to. My job is to go out there and report the news. In order to report the news, you have to be plugged into the news. But then there's the individual that's aware and they're checked out. Not necessarily checked out, but they're just not plugged in to the matrix. They're not trying to interface it. It's like, imagine like, Neo, instead of constantly interfacing, going back and forth in and out of the matrix. Imagine Neo just went and settled in like Chile on like ranch there. That's the type of person I'm talking about. They're just doing their thing. They're reading books, reading physical books. You want some good books, go to libertyunderattack.com, go buy some certified non-KYC books. Really interesting selection over there. Selection you'll find nowhere else. That sounds like a good time to me. Hopefully we'll get there someday. But until then, I'm kind of broke. I'm trying to earn cigarette money. It's a feedback cycle where I have to like the goal one day. And this is why I was tweeting at Andy Edstrom the other night, trying to figure out how much Bitcoin I need to retire. Maybe I should watch some Bitcoin YouTube shows. They'll probably tell me this week. But it's a feedback loop where I have to work. I have to practice journalism to purchase cigarettes. And I go and purchase cigarettes and then I smoke the cigarettes and then I need to go back and practice more journalism. I'm caught in this loop, but I enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy the loop. That's why I put up with it. But anyways, if you comment in the Zap.stream, so here's how the structure of the show goes. It's kind of like a free-for-all, where I will talk until I want to go smoke a cigarette, and then I'll play a few songs, and I'll come back, and I'll talk some more. But you can engage with me tonight. If you want to throw a comment in the Zap.stream, I will respond. So before we go back to the music, I've got 3 songs on deck coming up. I can't see the user's name, unfortunately. On Zap.stream, just random NPub guy says, which platform is Dennis Porter listening on? I think Dennis Porter has reached a state, he's transcended having to interface with technology. He's omnipresent, so I feel like Dennis Porter is in the room with me right now as we are broadcasting. I don't even think he has to use the internet to experience this. He's a force. He's a modern day superhero. He's not human. He is a modern day superhero. Random NPub guy, Zaps 21 sats. Thank you. So something cool, guys. All these funds go to Rayo. Rayo's been a value for value content creator for a while. Somebody has built a media company around selling actual goods and services. He sells books, sells audiobooks, he sells doodads. go to libertyundertag.com and buy some doodads and books. All these funds go to him. He's a buddy of mine. He's in the intellectual Silk Road. We're in on this together. Last week we earned like, somebody gave us like 22,000 sats, or I think that's what the total was. So that funded the stream on Zap.stream for like 6 months. So that was pretty cool. Let me blast through these comments and then we'll go back to the music. Bombs are gay. Yeah. The UI of this app needs some serious work. Yeah, I agree. But Zap.stream is a really cool platform, and I'm willing to wade in bad UX. The revolution will not have good UX. And sometimes you just got to put up with it, because this is what it means to be a pioneer. Being a pioneer, the pleb is the one waiting around for the good UX. They're just sitting on their hands, waiting for things to get ironed out and polished, for the company to have enough either VC money or just general revenue to actually be able to focus on UX. That's what the plebs are doing. The pioneers are getting out there. They're getting their hands dirty with Zap.stream. Shout out to the pioneers. I see you doing important work. We don't get to a place of good UX unless people use these products. And part of the problem with a lot of these products that are alternative products like Zap.stream or like Nostr, or like, part of the reason why the funding isn't there because the user base isn't there. I don't know if Nostr is going to be successful long term. Maybe I should ask my wife about what she thinks about it. She'll give me a good balanced opinion on it, but I think it's important to support these. I'm pretty supportive of applications that, or just things that allow you to accept Bitcoin, allow people to pay people in Bitcoin. I think that's cool. So I'll always, Twitter doesn't let you do that, and if they did, they would KYC you, so that you could be contributing to the war effort. And Pub says consume more Bugle content. I agree. We're going to be putting out a lot more. I'm excited. And then last comment before I go to the music says, by the way, this is Jorge from Steak and Shake. So maybe this is Adam Sameka. Who knows? But shout out to Jorge if that's actually Jorge. I don't think it is. All right, folks, back to the music. First song, The Revolution Will Not Have Good UX.
You saw the chain was filling fast. You claimed the mempool couldn't last. But every note should judge its own. We build the tools, not set the tone. You cry for knots, for filtered streams. But censorship fulfills no dreams. And though we see the spam you fight, we won't hard code what's wrong or right. So hold the line, we won't forbid. The data flows just as it did. We patch the leaks, but not the speech. We're pragmatic wanderers. You locked it down, you fought the tide, but we saw harm when rules divide. We let the free flow take its course and mitigate without brute force. Our mempool's big, our code is lean, but not a tool for cleansing memes. We won't pick winners in this fight. We build the rails, not judge what's right. So hold the line, we won't forbid. The data flows just but not the speech. We're pragmatic wanderers. We don't endorse the JPEG spam, but neither do we build a dam. We won't decide what counts as true. That's up to notes, not just a few. Ooh, this chain was made to let all in. Ooh, not filtered tight to fit one spin. So hold the line, we won't forbid. The data flows just as it did. We patch the leaks, but not the speech. We're pragmatic wanderers. Storms rolling in and darkness on the horizon. You work so hard, but fate's not compromising. Clock strikes 12, there's no time to waste. Trying so hard, but life's spitting in your face. Nights without sleep, you can rest when you're dead. Don't be friends with sheep, you have to use your head. Living in a circus is not good for the soul, but being driven by purpose will teach you what you need to know. I know it feels like it's all falling apart. There's no ignoring that aching in your heart. But you can't be found until you're lost. To really live, this is just the cost. There was a time before when things seemed certain. You wanted more, but you saw behind the curtain. Your dreams were endless, striving to live for something. The people on the TV told you that you were nothing. The people praised for morals were really rabid dogs. Your innocence stolen by savages who thought they were gods. Grinding money and dropping bombs, stealing your future. The population around you stuck in a stupor. I know it feels like it's all falling apart. There's no ignoring that aching in your heart. But you can't be found until you're lost. To really live, this is just the cost. Keep moving forwards, you're not done yet. Don't be ruled by being consumed with regret. Feels like it's all falling apart. There's no ignoring that aching in your heart. But you can't be found until you're lost. To really live, this is just the cost. If you're lost, you will be found. Place your feet on solid ground. I know you're scared, but you're not alone. We'll go together into the unknown.
Okay, so the only song that I didn't play was the song that I said I was going to play. I'm working with this new software. It's incredibly simple. Should be simple enough for even a journalist to understand it, but apparently not. Both of those songs. The first one was actually by Ron Palmer. It was not by me. Let me double check on the name of it. I think it was Wandering. My brain stopped working at some point today. Pragmatic Wanderer. Absolutely incredible song by Ron Palmer. I probably listened to that one like 6 or 7 times today because the show that we put out, we ended it with it. It was a great way to send out the show. Great, absolutely great song. You can check out all of Rod Palmer's music on Wave Lake, where you can boost him for it if you like it, or you can go to the Cucked music platforms like Spotify and Apple and whatever else there is. I'm sure it's on all the other ones too. Yeah, go check out Rod's music. He's got some absolute bangers. I think I've got another song of his on here tonight. I'll try and play The Revolution Won't Have Good UX. First song, next one. Second song was by me called Lost and Found. Seems like we fixed some of the audio issues. All the technical difficulties that we've experienced tonight are as a result of me. And I'm kind of finding there's this trade-off between quality of work and hours worked. And there is a certain point where you work a lot of hours and the quality just starts to drop off. So we're approaching that, folks. So bear with me tonight. Evenings are, I'm going to quit making excuses. I'm going to quit making excuses. This is going to be a great show. We've got 200 people watching on Twitter. We've got a few on Zap.stream. It sounds like the audio is a little bit better on Zap.stream. It's still a little bit fuzzy, but sounds better. We've got 5 viewers on Zap.stream. We've got Adam Semeka. For some reason on my typewriter doesn't show his name, but when I went and tested it on a different one, it did. It's one of those conundrums with these doodads out there and trying to work with them. But I love Zap.stream. I think everybody should be streaming there. You're doing a live stream, go over on Zap.stream. Earn Bitcoin when you're doing it. So one thing that I think Matt and Marty are doing really well, they're promoting Zap.stream. They're promoting platforms like this. Even though they're both PodConf approved, that's a pretty cool thing to do. Oh. Last week was a crazy week. I think this week's going to be a crazy week. I was talking about these automatons earlier. The people that they just respond, they bounce around like pinballs, just responding to stimulus. They think they're sentient beings because they're making a response, but it's very predictable responses. They're not taking the time to, look at things and question, synthesize what's going on. In times of war, I think it's important to pump the brakes. Because what a war is it's an extreme escalation. What happens in every war, always, is censorship and violence against dissenters. This has been the case in American history since its existence. You don't agree with the war? Well, guess what? The First Amendment doesn't really apply anymore. The referees that are also your opponent that you're competing against. That's what the government is. You're not on the same team. They're an opponent. And they get to referee themselves. when they determine for you that it's time for them to keep you safer by throwing you in a cage because you have a different opinion, it's time to slow down. It's time to think a little bit about what you're doing, what's going on. Going and standing in the street with a sign and lighting a car on fire, probably not a productive activity in circumstances like that. It's a very serious time right now. And it should be taken very seriously. A lot of people got excited about Bitcoin for the prospect of being able to either limit or eliminate times like this. There's a common thing. Let's end war. Fix the money, fix the world. It's time to look inside yourself introspectively. If you're using Bitcoin, has it fixed you? If you believe that to fix the money, fix the world, has it fixed you? Have you gotten your shit as a result of using this money? And if not, if you're being a shithead, you're not treating people well, you're not being honest, then it hasn't fixed you. You should look at that. This money was magically going to fix everything, and it didn't fix you. It didn't fix your relationships. It didn't fix your opinion about yourself. You still feel like you're a piece of shit. You have trouble looking at yourself in the mirror. And how the fuck is this money supposed to fix anything? How is it going to stop war if it can't even stop you from being a shithead? This is how you stop yourself from being an NPC. Because when crazy shit's going on, you stop and you think. And you evaluate who you are, you evaluate your values, you evaluate whether you're living into those values or whether you're contradicting them. That's how you are not an NPC. You use your brain. You think about what's good for you. You think about what's good for your family. And you make decisions based on that. A lot of people voted for Trump in and around Bitcoin. A lot of people I know voted for Trump. They were excited about it. He's going to free Ross, which he actually did. He said he was going to stop no wars. He talked about abolishing the IRS. I think we could say no wars is off the table. I think there's multiple wars of various sorts. He's just been a wrecking ball coming in, causing all sorts of chaos. And you can try and make the argument that is for good, but at the end of the day, it's coercive. It's all coercive. Nothing that he's doing is supported through voluntary action. This idea of consent of the governed is rather silly. But a lot of people voted for him thinking that he's gonna, magically make things better. They like Bitcoin. I don't really care if you voted for him or not. But I think one of the fatal mistakes a lot of people made was just believing in him, believing that this person would somehow make their lives better. Somebody that was just like very clearly a part of the machine. He was running to control the machine or have the perception of controlling the machine. The machine which has created all these issues. It's hard for a lot of people to see this because they can't pierce through the void. There's been this mist that has been sprayed on all these people, like chemtrails. And the way that they learn about American history. When people think of American history, they think of a government-centric narrative. It's all about the U.S. government and the evolution and growth of it. But the government is what created freedom for people. There's a lot of people that don't know how to define freedom. To them, freedom means being able to go and cast a ballot. The freedom to be able to afford to pay your taxes. That's what freedom means to a lot of people. And they thank the U.S. government for providing that to them. Thank you for providing me the freedom and security and safety so that I can afford to pay my taxes. When I think of America and I think of American history, I don't think about the U.S. government. I think about the people that built this region despite the U.S. government. So when I think of American heroes, they're not always the conventional heroes that you hear about. I think of people like Lysander Spooner. That guy was a badass. I think of people, I genuinely like Benjamin Franklin. I think he's interesting. I think of people like the Wright brothers. Not George Washington. Not Abraham Lincoln. I think of people like Chief Cochise and Geronimo. The Chiricahua Apaches that stood their ground, fought against the U.S. government. I think of people like Ross Ulbricht. I'd say Ross Ulbricht's an American hero. I'd say Ayn Rand is an American hero. There's a lot of great musicians out there. There's a lot of great writers out there. There's a lot of great artists out there. There's a lot of bad artists too. But when I think of America, I think of this region. Because I reject the premise that the people that are telling me where I can't smoke cigarettes, I reject their idea of their jurisdiction. Sure, I have to abide by it in some ways. But I just don't see them as legitimate. And the reason why I don't see them as legitimate is because they're always trying to fuck with me. In every way possible. Constantly. Why would you reject or accept and respect the authority of somebody that's always trying to get in your way and make things more difficult for you? Especially when it's not moral. You know, people run through all sorts of gymnastics to try and justify this stuff. It's for your safety. It's for somebody else's safety. I have a fucking brain and I can make decisions for myself. You don't have to put me in a cage for my own safety. You don't have to tax cigarettes to make them more expensive, so I want to smoke less. It doesn't make me want to smoke less. It just makes me want to not support the government. Oh, everybody, you're listening to. I keep on forgetting what the title of this is. Music Mondays with Richard Greaser on the PAZNIA Radio Network. Go and check out PAZNIA.com/radio. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm just going through some songs I talked last week about this idea of tracing the dragon, of going out and finding a song or a book or an article, something that just stops you in your tracks and it consumes you. So I was talking about this phenomenon that I experienced where I'm sitting and I'm writing, and I'll hear a song and I have to stop writing because I enjoy it so much. I had a few songs that did that for me this week. I was listening to some Mozart. I was listening to some Tchaikovsky. I was listening to some Stardust. If you want to hear a cool, I'm not going to play it tonight on this. But if you want to hear a really cool song, go check out Queen of Insanity by Stardust. It's really cool. Noah Grumman, incredibly talented. But yeah, I'm getting into the classics. I'm getting into classics like Mozart and Tchaikovsky. And I think that type of music is just so incredible. I think metal and classical music have a lot of similarities. But it's kind of problematic for me sometimes listening to all of this classical music because I find myself distracted because I just want to enjoy it. Like, I really understand what Dagny Taggart was experiencing in Atlas Shrugged with Richard Halley, the composer. How excited she was to hear his music, and that experience where when she recognized the man whistling the song, that she knew who the composer was. I understand that type of feeling. And I think the reason why really appreciating really, really good art and music is important is because it just makes you feel good. It makes you feel more motivated. It builds you up. So it has a multiplying effect on whatever you're trying to do in your life. You're trying to do a good job at something. You're listening to a bunch of trash that makes you feel bad. Doesn't motivate you. It might be catchy. It's nice. I just don't really see the point in that. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be mediocre. One of my biggest frustrations with society is that it promotes mediocrity. Who are the most followed people in the world? They're always the most mediocre. Why are they the most followed and celebrated? Well, one, because all the information is controlled and artificially promotes them. But two, because the general population has really low self-esteem, and so they're gonna aspire to be mediocre. They're gonna look up to the people that are mediocre. Not to say a lot of these mediocre people aren't talented in many ways. They have to be entertaining, but they don't have the it that is so inspiring. Like, very few do. And so when I find that thing, I get really excited. Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. Some of the best shit I've ever heard. Ballet's weird. I've always thought ballet is weird. But like, when you understand what goes behind the dancing, the amount of discipline that these ballet dancers have, it becomes much more real. And I think it just enjoys to see people, or I enjoy seeing people that are great. And it bums me out when I see people be mediocre. That's something that I hope that, it's a question you should ask yourself. Has Bitcoin fixed you? Has Bitcoin pushed you to be great? Or are you continuing to be mediocre? Whenever there's crazy shit going on in the world, you have to take action at some point. You have to navigate the craziness. But bouncing around like a pinball, just responding to stimulus is not the way to do it. The first thing to do, always, is to stop. Unless you're in an emergency situation, you have to get the fuck out, and hopefully you already have a plan for that. But is to stop and think. Stop and think. You start to feel the fear creeping in. It's overwhelming you. It's taking control. Don't let it consume you. Stop and think and smoke a fucking cigarette and chill. Oh, I don't know what this next week is going to. Unfortunately, I report the news. I don't have the credentials to predict the news. Maybe you could check out Erin Red Wing, get her astrology takes or something if you want some sort of prediction. Or you can do what the Zoomers are doing and just ask ChatGPT. The next set of songs, I think I got them in order. I'll make sure this actually plays this way this time. I won't accidentally bait and switch you. I'm going to start out. We got the Bugle Weekly headlines of the week, followed up by The Revolution Will Not Have Good UX, Sailor Fly Me to the Moon, and Rod Palmer's hit song, Girls on Spaces.
Well, it's been a strange week, folks. This is Buster Cherry, and I want to thank you for joining me today for another edition of the Bugle Weekly Headlines. From the president throwing himself a military parade birthday party to the Jews bombing people again, this week was marked with violent upheaval. Assassination markets struck Minnesota as 2 state politicians were murdered in their homes. And all across the country, there were mostly peaceful protests. With that and more, we go to Smoking Hot Bugle news correspondent, Kaylee Welch.
Thanks, Buster. It truly was a strange week. Besides the protesting, bombing, and antics from the president, this week was defined by paper Bitcoin companies, also known as PBCs. Stephen Lubka debuted a new broccoli haircut as he announced that he would be joining David Bailey's PBC called Nakamoto. The company's business model is to do everything in their power in order to make Predator mad. Maggie Morris had some criticism for Lubka, citing that she thought he was hotter when he was selling actual Bitcoin instead of paper Bitcoin. I would definitely have to agree with that sentiment. Justin Beckler is setting sail on what people are calling the filter flotilla. He is sailing to Gaza to provide Palestinians with desperately needed NOTS nodes in order to filter Israel's offensive inscriptions they are spamming Iran with. Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Saturday that he would be spamming Iranian Bitcoin wallets with offensive inscriptions of the Prophet Muhammad, meaning that the whole Muslim world would have to host them on their Bitcoin nodes. Beckler feels that any Muslim should have the right to filter out offensive spam, and that it is his responsibility to teach them how. And finally, Santa has chosen to go with Predator's list this year in determining who is naughty or nice. He turned down the bid from Peter Thiel, citing he found the amount of information presented as rather creepy. Unfortunately, this likely means that everyone at the Bugle will be receiving coal this year because Predator is a little bitch and doesn't respect credentialed journalism. To wrap it up, I just want to say, Happy Father's Day, and thank you to my dad. Dad, you taught me how to drive drunk, put me through college, and bought me my first pack of cigarettes. Thanks for always being there and for listening to the podcast.
Well, it sounds like you have a great dad, Kaylee. Explains why you are so sharp. As a man, there is no job more important in the world than being a father. Happy Father's Day to all those strong men listening to 40 hours per week so they can accurately understand the world and take care of their families. This is Buster Cherry.
And this is Kaylee Welch.
I want to thank you for tuning into another edition of the Bugle Weekly Headlines.
to be more than a bum. Learning to use your brains instead of suckling off their thumb. To build a better world, you have to use your head. Don't you want to leave a legacy after you are dead? Why rest when the world is yours to take? You look around and everything's all gay and fake. Go buy a pack of non-KYC Marlboro Reds. Use Monero cause you're being monitored by feds. How long do you think you can go holding yourself back? Soon you will be old and the world will begin to fade to black. Don't wait, because your time is too damn short. You're here and it's too late to abort. The revolution will likely not have good UX, but that's not an excuse to stop you from success. Working tirelessly without immediate rewards, stumbling forward, goals to work towards. Don't get stuck reminiscing on how the past should have been. Let go and take the plunge so your life can really begin. Time's ticking and you still have things left unsaid. No time to be consumed by fear or crippled by dread. Clock is ticking, so you better get a move on. No one is ever lost who chose to be more than a bum. Learning to use your brains instead of suckling off their thumb. To build a better world, you have to use your head. Don't you want to leave a legacy after you are dead? Who chose to be more than a bum. Learning to use your brains instead of suckling off their thumb. To build a better world, you have to use your head. Don't you want to leave a legacy after you are dead?
Mr. Sailor, fly me to the moon on your Bitcoin rocket ship. We'll record in the podcast room, play some fiat games and even touch tips. 6102 is a conspiracy. Brian Armstrong says the funds are safe too. When I'm with you, I feel electricity. Mr. Sailor, take my hand. Let's be special friends and hope this party never ends. You're the man I have eyes for. Can I listen to you speak some more? You are pumping my bags as hard as my heart is pumping now. Bitcoin is going to the moon, and I'll let you be Big Spoon. My wife is a little jealous, but you've made me so damn zealous. I've never seen straight men act so gay when they rush to listen to you on stage, but I know I'm the one you adore. Let me take off my pants and let you explore. Mr. Sailor, fly me to the moon on your Bitcoin rocket ship. We'll record in the podcast room, play some fiat games, and even touch tips. You're the man I have eyes for. Can I listen to you speak some more? You are pumping my bags as hard as my heart is pumping now. Bitcoin is going to the moon, and I'll let you Big Spoon. Mr. Sailor, fly me to the moon on your Bitcoin rocket ship. We'll record in the podcast room, play some fiat games, and even touch tips. You're the man I have eyes for. Can I listen to you speak some more? You are pumping my bags as hard as my heart is pumping now. Bitcoin is going to the moon, and I'll let you be Big Spoon.
I'm crushing so bad I can't sleep at night. If loving her is wrong, I don't wanna be right. She's the co-hostess with the mostest, but I missed all the signs that she's a federal agent who's got me crossing state lines. I'm always looking for love in all the wrong places. I just can't get enough of those girls on Spaces. She's got a cold cardboard clock and hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fad, and I was the yield. She's got a cold cardboard clock and hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fad, and I was the yield. When I met her in person down at Bitcoin Beach, I knew our future would always be just out of reach. I paid for our abuses with my non-KYC wallet, and she reported me to the IRS when she saw it. I'm always looking for love in all the wrong places. I just can't get enough of those girls on Spaces. She's got a cold cardboard clock, it hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fad, and I was the yield. She's got a cold cardboard clock, it hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fad, and I was the yield. I wish I didn't love her so madly, yeah. And I wish I could marry her so badly, but she's a fed, and I'm a pleb. She's got a cold cardboard clock, it hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fed, and I was the yield. She's got a cold cardboard clock, it hates KYC, but the badge on her busts me. She's not right for me, but when the game was finally up and the truth was revealed, she was just another fed, and I was the yield.
That was Revolution Won't Have Good UX by myself, followed by Sailor Fly Me to the Moon, and then I'm in Love with the Fed, aka Girls on Spaces by Rod Palmer. Close it out for that little segment. I had a whole train of thought that I was going to go off of, and I got distracted because there's a scammer in the Telegram group trying to pretend to be us and lure people into traps. I think their resources are kind of wasted, because I feel like if you're in our Telegram channel, you're probably a little bit more sophisticated. I don't think there's a whole lot of boomers in there that are going to get socially engineered. I think it's mostly pioneers that know a thing or two about technology. But yeah, just be careful out there. Be careful on the links you click, all that shit. I enjoy music a lot. I really enjoy music a lot. I always have. I've had periods in my life where I've gone without listening to music. I've just read a lot of books, listened to a lot of podcasts. But I think music's very important for telling a story. It's just like an incredible way to communicate ideas. So I'm excited what's happening in the value for value space with music. There's a lot of really talented musicians and a lot of really smart, inspiring people engaging in this ecosystem. I think it's important to, one of the best things that you could ever do when you find something that's inspiring to you is to go share it with somebody else, to go shill it, go tell somebody else about it, because the person, oftentimes the people that have the most inspiring stuff, they don't have an army of people to shill for them that are paid for and artificially used to promote whatever they're doing. So instead, what they have to do is they have to fight this uphill battle. You hear about this all the time. You go into an art museum, you'll probably hear this story. You're looking around the art. It's pretty cool stuff. If you understand a little bit about what goes into painting some of these paintings, sometimes they look like trash or, just kind of weird. They're not always super detailed or, whatever. But you actually learn about what goes into painting a lot of these paintings that are considered great works of art. How at the time it may have been a real technical challenge that one of these artists overcame in order to be able to do that. But you'll hear this story over and over again that these artists oftentimes struggled their whole lives and were never appreciated until after they died. After they died, they created all these works that are now circulated, and then they get their works of art put in art museums where leftists go and throw tomato soup on it. Their impact on history was enormous. And part of the reason why is because I think they've dedicated so much of their time and energy into really doing something good. And so when you find those things, when you find people like that, it's important to support them. Because probably the majority of other people aren't. They don't see it. They don't see the importance of it. There's a good chance. There's a lot of very talented people that have a lot of success in their lives, but there's a lot of people out there that are very, very talented, doing some of the best work, and just nobody sees it. And those are my favorite types of people to find, to work with. That's always who I'm looking for, is that undiscovered talent. That person that if they smoked just a few more cigarettes and read Atlas Shrugged for the first time, they'd be absolute killers at whatever they chose to do, whether it's music or writing or, whatever it is. The fiat system is the music system. They're one and the same. Essentially what happened is there's a handful of people that were able to erect walls that were hard to break through. And one of the ways to break those walls is to go directly to supporting the artists that you like. However it is, whether it's signing up on their Patreon, whether it's sharing their music, whether it's talking to them and seeing if they could use any skill sets. Maybe you're good at memes and now you're a memer for a musician. Maybe you're good at video work. You do some video work for them, whatever it is. It's all really helpful and beneficial, because I think that's what it'd be a net benefit for the world if the art just got better in general. And I think part of making the art better in general is just rejecting the fiat art. And I know like Safedine has popularized that term, but I'm just talking about there's individuals that control our society that just want people to be mediocre, because mediocre people are not competition. A lot of the people that are at the top, they're pretty mediocre themselves. And what terrifies them is open competition with actually talented and smart individuals. And that's why they erect these walls. One of the ways to, I wouldn't say tear down the wall, but you can jump over the wall, you can go into the wall. At a certain point, you get enough people just disregarding the wall's authority, and the wall just isn't relevant anymore, and you dismantle it, or it dismantles itself. That's why I like the value for value ecosystem. I think it's really important. One of the ways that these walls try to work is they try to capture people. They give them good offers. Say, hey, if you forgo some of your values, what you think's important, you make compromises, we're going to reward you. They get you accustomed to having these rewards. And then they push the compromises more. And more and more. There's some things that are important not to compromise. And I think the foremost one is just your values and what you believe in. And it sucks. And oftentimes when you work for other people, they want things a certain way. They don't share your vision. And oftentimes they'll demand mediocrity out of you. There's exceptions to that. But one of the ways that you can encourage people to be a little bit better is I think whoever it is, they're going to be the most effective when they're true to themselves. So if you're an artist, you're a musician, if you're a writer, when you're actually living in a manner that is aligned with what you believe and who you are, you're going to be way more effective at what you're doing. Significantly more effective. The stuff that you're producing is going to be way more effective. It's going to be way more inspiring. Because you're not weighed down by the bullshit. You're not as distracted. You're not as attuned to nonsense. You're dialed in. You're focused on the things that you want to be focused on. You have the freedom to choose what you want to do with your time. And with that freedom, you have the opportunity to really create something great. And the audience is a huge part of it. I think that's the thing that a lot of people fail to understand, is that all of this stuff is a two-way street. Journalism, music. There are people out there that just make stuff for themselves. And I do this sometimes, but like if you're engaging, if you're putting yourself out there, you're doing it to be recognized in a certain way. And so when people respond well, they get excited about what you're doing, try and promote you, shill your stuff. It feels really good. Makes you want to do it. It makes it, I talked last week about this idea of like, when you're putting your content out there, you're essentially putting out a signal for like-minded people to come and find you. Responding to the signal is important. It's important for people. And I think music is one of the most important parts of it. Because music I don't know. I'll have to think a little bit more about, what I think music is and why it's so magical. But there's something special about it that just stirs differently than a lot of other forms of content. You look at a movie, like you look at a really good movie. Try watching the movie without the music. Part of the reason why the movie's so good and it draws you into the story so much is because of the music. When you think of a really good song and you look back at your life, you look back in time at a period of your life and you're like, this song defined that year for me or that decade. This album defined this decade of my life. This is what I was listening to. This is what I was feeling good about. Maybe feeling bad about. Maybe the music was a reflection of you feeling bad about yourself, but this is what I was listening to this time of my life. It's weird how you can associate memories with music, with really good music. You look back at these moments and you think of these songs. I think this way, I had this really interesting experience as a kid where I'd listen to albums because you used to have to listen to albums. I listened to them on repeat, essentially on cassette tapes, while I was reading a book. And I would associate that album with the book. And every time I go back and hear that song, I think of that book. There's something special about that. And I think it's really important to use music as a way to communicate your ideas, communicate your values. And so if you're not a musician, if you're not a music writer, if you're not playing an instrument or, singing or whatever it is, I think it's really important to go and, find people that you really like and support. And I think this type of taking an active role in supporting artists is it's really meaningful, especially at a time like this, especially at a time when the culture that many of us are surrounded by is just so devoid of meaning and purpose. So when I'm writing my music, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to put my signal out there. I'm trying to communicate things that I think matter to me. And the number one thing that matters to me. Oh, am I running overtime? Sounds like I got Rayo on here. I'm in an hour and 30. Maybe you just accidentally unmuted. All right, he muted. All right, sorry about that, folks. I don't know if he's trying to say. If you got something to say to me, just shoot me a message. The thing that I value the most, people, is using your brain, and that is the next song on the list. We're gonna go for 2 songs and stop, and then we'll see how long I ramble, and then I've got some more songs after that, but here we go. Use your brain.
If you choose, but if you don't, you will likely lose. In a society whose chief virtue is to comply, it's always dangerous to choose to defy. There's certainty and stability that comes with trust, but learning to believe in yourself requires you to adjust. Why limit yourself to believe in silly fantasies, pretending nothing is wrong is not a good strategy. Almost everything you see is made by spooks. The world is on the verge of destruction by nukes. In a world like this, it's hard to find heroes. This is your opportunity to be the one you're looking for. Don't get down, folks, not all is lost. Inside you is the solution. Have faith in yourself, you can use your brain. Making memes and telling the truth will keep you sane. The problem lies inside each and every one of you. And inside you also lies the answer. There is a lot you can do, but it requires action. You can't be free unless you own your soul and mind. In order to do this, you have to stop following the blind. The system only works with your consent. They'll give you enough to try and keep you content. Politicians will try to tell you what you want to hear, and if that doesn't work, they will try to use fear. It's not fun living in the matrix, but you can learn to see how they play tricks. Self-respect is the vaccine for the lies on the TV. You must break your chains in order to be free. Look people in the eye when you speak. The future doesn't have to look bleak. Don't get down, folks, not all is lost. Inside is the solution. Have a little, folks, not all is lost. Inside you is the solution. Have a little faith in yourself, you can use your brain. Making memes and telling the truth will keep you sane. The problem lies inside each and every one of you. And inside you also lies the answer. There is a lot you can do, but it requires action. Servitude is not exciting because it means self-denial. You can't buy satisfaction in the store aisle. Altruism is a tool to pull the wool over your eyes. Rejecting it will allow you to rise. You must live for yourself, because selflessness is a lie. Just what you think is important and give it a try. It's hard waking up when you've been asleep, but it's better than wandering my lost like sheep. Don't you want to be proud when you look in the mirror? Why do you hold yourself back? Death is only getting nearer. Don't get down, folks, not all is lost. Inside you is the solution. Have a little faith in yourself, you can use your brain. Making memes and telling the truth will keep you sane. The problem lies inside each and every one of you. And inside you also lies the answer. There is a lot you can do, but it requires action. There is hope for the future and victory is in sight. The forces of evil are daunting and scary. Temptations of submission will make anyone wary. What we are witnessing is a battle for perception. All they have is dishonesty and deception. They want you to be tired, afraid, and alone. Their control disappears in the face of backbone. To control a population that is ungovernable. People are dangerous when they choose dignity over being comfortable. When you realize how much there is to lose, all you can do is stand your ground and refuse. All around us are people with brains dissatisfied with settling for living in chains. Inside them is a primal hunger for something more than settling for compliance and being a whore. When things become difficult, do you want to cower and hide? Or will you embrace adversity and take it in stride? To die with dignity is preferable to being a slave. History will look kindly on those who choose to be brave. Adversity has to do with the time given us. All we have is dishonesty, and do you comply or defy? In the end, no matter what, we all will die. Between now and then are lots of decisions. Memes and information are the most dangerous munitions. There is no easy path forward, whether you comply or defy. In the end, no matter what, we all will die. Between now and then are lots of decisions. Memes and information are the most dangerous munitions. There is no way to control it, whether you comply or defy. In the end, no matter what, we all will die. Between now and then are lots of decisions. Memes and information are the most dangerous munitions. All around us are people with brains dissatisfied with settling for living in chains. Inside them is a primal hunger for something more than settling for compliance and being a horde. When things become difficult, do you want to cower and hide? Or will you embrace adversity and take it in stride? To die with dignity is preferable to being a slave. History will look kindly on those who choose to be brave. When times become difficult, we are faced with opportunity to invest in each other, take care of our community. The soul needs healing, a world that is chaotic. Our pain has purpose, allowing us to be more than robotic. So tune into the Bugle to fortify your mind and boost us with the coin if our values are aligned. If you're listening out there, know you aren't alone. Join as we travel bravely into the unknown.
Alrighty, folks. Can you imagine what the world would look like if there's an actual free market of ideas and everything wasn't just stupid and manipulated? One of the common mistakes people make when they're looking and reading history is somehow thinking that we're more civilized than the people that we're reading about. A very common story that is talked about on Bitcoin podcasts is the printing press and how the printing press disintermediated information. It's a very cool story. And in many ways, it's like the internet. But what we know today and before the internet is that information became very consolidated and controlled once again, even with the advent of the printing press. Changed a little bit. And to look around you today and to think that there's actually a free market for ideas when most of the stuff that's popular in pop culture is absolute garbage. The stuff on social media is some of the most brain dead bullshit you'll ever read. On all of them. You think there's a free market for ideas. And that's the best that the world, that society could come up with, is all this retardation. What does that say about people? If that's actually the case. And I think most of the people listening know it's not the case. They know everything's fake and bullshit. It's all fake and gay, folks. It's all fake and gay. You look around at you go on social media, and everything you're reading, for the most part, is fake and gay. But imagine this world where there's a free market for ideas. We just celebrated one of the most important holidays over the weekend. Was Father's Day. Was it treated like the most important holiday? No. No, it wasn't. Not by most people. Fathers are one of the most important people in our society. Most pop culture, they're depicted as weak. That's why most pop culture sucks. The stuff that you consume is a reflection of how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. So I turn on the TV, watch the MK Ultra programming, and I see a pathetic father. I turn it off. It's not a reflection of who I am. I mean, sometimes you can depict things in a compelling story. You can depict a father that's not very compelling for a broader story, for context of something. Maybe the child overcomes adversity, does something cool despite their dad sucking. But most of the time, that's not the case. They're just making dads look shitty and weak, pathetic. I was fortunate enough to have a father that wasn't shitty. Sure, he had a lot of problems. I don't think it really makes sense, on a day like Father's Day to like put your parents up on a pedestal, but I think it really is important to honor them and how they raised you and to celebrate this role of dad, to look at the dads around you that are doing a great job and really give them some affirmation for what they're doing. Because it's an important role. If you have kids, you don't want your kids growing up in a shitty and awful society because a bunch of people fail to be dads. You don't want your child's peers to be raised by a bunch of pathetic losers. A lot of people, they like to attack the things that they think are bad without presenting any meaningful solution. There's people like Predator. What are you producing, dude, other than salty tweets? You're grumpy. Being grumpy is not being great. I hope that in your life outside of Twitter, you're doing something meaningful. And I could be wrong, but the way that you engage on Twitter just presents as like, and that's one of the things too, is like gauging perception of like, I could be completely off. All I see is this grumpy account all day, just being grumpy, issuing purity tests, kind of like he's a meter maid. He's running around giving purity failing tickets to people. I think it's lame. I just think that's lame. Like, one of the things that you can do to really like try and make a better future for your kids is to really affirm the people that are doing things well, the fathers that are badasses, the ones that invest time in their kids. Like when I think about my dad, so my dad died a few years back. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to orange pill him. He died a few years back. Got hit by a bus. It sucked. It was really shitty. I didn't really know how to deal with it at the time. I just drank a lot. That's all I used to know how to do. When I was living as a pathetic human being, working for the media, I just drank. That's how I dealt with it. And when I say the media, I'm talking about the PSYOP media industrial complex. It was soul sucking. And this bad thing happens, it just put me over the edge. But what I've learned in these years without my father, these recent years, is to really remember the things that he did well. And I think things like this, they have a huge influence on shaping you. They like, if you want to go into the world and you don't want to be a pathetic human being, then you're consumed constantly thinking about, the bad things that happen to you and the things you don't like about yourself. This is what your entire focus in life is. You're really going to reach your potential. I think that there's this lie that is baked into that type of philosophy or belief system, which is that you have to focus on the bad things so that you can change it. But the reality is you just become whoever you feed. And so it doesn't mean being completely unaware of the bad things and being blind to it and all of that. But like part of it is often you have to acknowledge the good things. And so when I think about my dad on Father's, think about the day that he got me my first typewriter. They showed me how to use it, showed me how to take it apart, how to oil different parts of it to make it run smoothly, how to reload the ink. That was an incredible day for me. That really was the start of my life. The ability of giving me the ability to write. Because that's who I am at the end of the day. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. It's what I enjoy doing. It's when I feel like I'm at my best. I love to write. And there were so many days like that where he took the time, he paid attention to me. And I'm the man I am today as a result of that. And when I see other dads spending time with their kids, investing in them, I want to let them know that I see that and I think it matters. They're just not just going along with the system. They're not just allowing their children to just get sucked into this bullshit, to be, to have their brains just bombarded with abuse. Things that just are defiling who they are as blank canvases. They're protecting them from that. They're, in one of the ways that they're doing that is they're really building a sense of confidence in their children by focusing on them, showing them attention, teaching them the importance of learning, teaching them all of these things that really are going to lead to them being successful. They're taking an active role in their children's life. I don't think there should be anything that's celebrated more than that, than when a parent shows up for their child. And the reason why is low time preference. There's a lot of discussion around low and high time preference on Bitcoin podcasts, to the point where they're seen as buzzwords. But doing things without an immediate reward. What's more satisfying in the moment oftentimes when you're tired? Reading a book to your child, watching Netflix. Which one do you think will be more impactful on your child? The reason why when you're tired, you sit down and you read a book to your child is because you're investing in them. You're investing in their mind. You're bringing them into a story. You're able to talk about the story with them. Books are important. They're becoming increasingly more important in this world of digital hellscape where information just disappears. It's much harder to burn a book than it is to make something disappear off the internet. The day my dad smoked a cigarette with me for the first time, it was a crazy day. You share these moments, and I know there's a lot of people that had rough relationships with their parents, and I in no way want to invalidate that. I don't want to invalidate that, but no buts. I think it's important to acknowledge those things. I also, at the same time, think that on days like Father's Day, there might be mixed emotions. Might be mostly positive. I hope it is. But if there's mixed emotions, I want you to think about the good things. Take some time, not just to focus on all the bad, but to think about some of those good moments. Maybe there's only a few. Just imagine what your life would have looked like if that was a consistent thing that you received. Because you deserved it. The same way that your children deserve your full focus and attention. Now, I want you to think about our culture that spends so much energy trying to tear down the most important jobs in the world, like being a parent. It's the most important job in the world. And you're not going to be the most effective at it unless you're living in your values. You're living a lifestyle that's really important to you. You're not compromising who you are. I'm thinking a lot about my dad right now. I miss him. Really grateful that he was able to be in such a huge role in my life. Show me how to type on a typewriter. Giving me a cassette player to listen to music. He loved classical music. A lot. And I think it's so great to grow up as a kid listening to classical music. And I think part of the reason why is because it's a part of history. These great ensembles, these symphonies are incredible. Can you just think about how difficult it is to write a symphony? How much you have to know about music at a time before the internet existed. And to be able to orchestrate it all, to get all the pieces to come together, is really telling a compelling story in many ways. And what you're trying to, the amount of human cooperation that is needed to perform a symphony is just absolutely incredible. Bach, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Mozart, Brahms. These guys are incredible. Father's Day is about being proud of who you are. When you celebrate your dad, you celebrate your grandpa, it's about taking the time to think about your lineage. Thinking about the people that came before you. You know, there's a lot of about being a parent that's tough. Kids test your patience. They require a lot of energy. If you're here today, it's because generations of people put up with that. Life wasn't always as safe as it is today. From what I understand of human history, the majority of people really had to struggle to pass on their genes. A lot of people died for a lot of, you play the Oregon Trail game. I remember when that came out. You're just like, playing this game. There's not a lot to it. You're clicking buttons. And all of a sudden you broke your leg. And you think about these pioneers that, settled the American West. How many of them died in the process of trying? How many of them were unable to pass on their genes? They really took a risk, and that's just like a huge part of human history. There's a million ways you could die back then. Things just weren't as developed technologically. There wasn't as much knowledge. It was really dangerous to just be alive. And as you're living today, you're You're a reflection of all that struggle, all that cumulative struggle that led you to being here today. And you carry those people's genes. And I think it's important to honor and appreciate it. It's a part of being proud of who you are. Part of feeling good about yourself is looking back at your lineage. Because it's a big part of defining who you are, the people that came before you. Why do you live where you live? Or grew up where you grew up? Why do you have food on the table? Even if you're like estranged from your family and, you know, worst case scenario, you were like born in a Russian orphanage. Your parents were never in the picture. Still, there was all these people that came before you that led to you being here today. And those things that you missed out on, you have the opportunity to offer to child in the future. That's a huge opportunity. I care about kids a lot. I care about kids a lot because I care about myself a lot. As I get older, I want to live in a society that's just not a complete shit show. I want to be able to sit comfortably somewhere and type away my typewriter. That's all I do until I can't type anymore. That's what I want to do with the rest of my life. And as I get older, I'm just not going to be as resilient. And I hope that the younger generation that, you know, because like I really hope what I hope for Gen X, what I hope for millennials is that they're not like the stupid fucking boomers and they just clutch to power forever. They raise kids that are capable, that don't suck, because they don't suck. This is the thing about the boomers. They suck so bad. And they try and gaslight everybody and say that, you know, everything sucks because the younger generation sucks. It's like, well, you know, if the younger generation suck, it's a reflection of you sucking, you stupid boomers. Before I get too riled up about the boomers, I'm going to debut a new song to close out for tonight. We're coming up on the 2 hours. I think I'm going to go slightly over because I ramble a little bit too long. When I start thinking about the boomers, my blood starts to boil. First time ever being debuted.
Bombs are raining, times are changing, masses raging. What is reality? Cars are burning, it's the fourth turning, people hurting. What is the malady? I'd love to change the world, but it doesn't want to change. I cannot speak for you. You're not a pawn to be arranged. While it's all burning, some are learning, they're rebuilding, salvaging what is left. Some are reading, constantly seeking, always achieving, rejecting mediocrity. I'd love to change the world, but it doesn't want to change. I cannot speak for you. You're not a pawn to be arranged. Yeah. still has his dream. I'd love to change the world, but things are looking strange. I can only speak for me and choose to try to change.
Lights out.